Hello, everybody. It is GGinspire with an awesome guest today. One of my closest friends. I put on the title of this. This is like one of my favorite humans. Okay. I'm telling you right now, Brian Altounian is my guest today. He is a friend. He is a dad. He is a business person. He is absolutely incredible. He loves helping people. He's got the most incredible heart. He's just, and you know what? He always hates it when I say this, but you know, he's got a great sense of humor. So be funny. No, just kidding.
Oh God.
But
the pressure.
I just told him like, hey, let's come on and have a chat and let's talk about what it's like to be entrepreneurs, because you know, we're launching a huge podcast for entrepreneurs geared towards all the people who told you that entrepreneurship was a bad idea. And the first person that I thought of, who's one of my favorite entrepreneurs out there, is this man right here. So Brian, welcome to GGinspire.
Thank you, Gigi. I love it. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I feel honored to be part of the early cast of characters you're going to have on this podcast. So
absolutely. My pleasure to have you. So tell the world a little bit about you. You know, I know you have your own podcast that's in your space. I'll let you kind of talk about it, but I just want everyone to hear a little bit about you.
Okay, well, I will. I'll start from the beginning. I was born. I'm kidding. Actually, I was born into a family of entrepreneurs. I think that's really where it comes from. When I was old enough really to walk, my dad owned a grocery store in Southern California, and I worked at my dad's grocery store. And my dad's store was open 365 days a year, and that's the one thing about being an entrepreneur, right? Being a small business owner. The amazing lessons that you learn, right? The first lesson I learned was, when I was a kid working in my dad's store, and I was like, oh, we were working on holidays, right? Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I was like, oh God, why are we working on Christmas Day? My dad said, listen, when you're selling stuff to your customers, you want to sell it when your customers want to buy it, not when you want to sell it. Like, of the many lessons, I think I should actually create a list, right? Serve your customers when they want to be served, not when you want to serve them, right? You can offer specials, but so I learned many, many lessons working for my dad. And some of the challenges with that too, being open 365 days a year. And, we were always on. It was every weekend and holiday. As a child, I learned to work in my dad's store. I also learned, what a good, strong work ethic was like. And the difference between people who own the business and people who work for the business. And there is a distinct difference. The employees have an employee mindset. It's a completely different mindset. And so, to be an entrepreneur is to kind of be out of that mindset. And so my dad, again, from the time I was like really a little kid, like 8 years old, till I was about 27, I went through college, and then my dad had this vision of having, a whole chain of grocery stores. But I realized that was my dad's dream and my dad's vision, and it wasn't mine.
Right.
Like, it wasn't my thing. I did it, and I was good at it because I worked hard and I learned all the aspects of the business, so that there wasn't anything I didn't know about how to run a grocery store. But it wasn't my dream. It wasn't I didn't feel fulfilled. And that was one of the things that I sought, was fulfillment in the work that I was doing. And I was thinking, if you're going to spend a lot of time away from your family and from your friends, and, put work in, you have to love what you're doing. You really have to, it's got to be your dream. And so owning a chain of grocery stores was my dad's dream, but it wasn't my dream. It wasn't and I noticed that time was, when you go to the grocery store, every time you go into the grocery store, there's they're putting stuff up for the next holiday. So now it's Halloween, and then it's Thanksgiving, and then it's Christmas. And it's amazing that when you work in that environment, you're stocking and constantly stocking for the next holiday. Nothing makes time go faster than that kind of activity.
And stocking for the next holiday.
Stocking for the next holiday.
Thing.
Right. And that's kind of what I thought about. Oh my goodness, this is constant,
It's so true. And like the plan for the next thing. And I feel like I'm glad that you said that about fulfillment, because it kind of leads into my next question. Because when you're just going from holiday to holiday, next get together to next get together, what have you, whatever business job, whatever it is that you're doing, if you look at what's going on right now, they're calling it the Great Resignation, the Big Quit. Right. Over 10 million people have quit their jobs in the last 3-4 months. Now, why is that? I want to see if you can speak to that unfulfillment side of things and why people may be looking at the entrepreneurial space now.
Yeah, so I'll answer that by saying this. My mom was in commercial real estate, and I learned the commercial real estate business as well. So that's also a very entrepreneurial business. Because I didn't feel that these activities were fulfilling. That again, you can be good at something and you can make a lot of money at something, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be happy doing it. And I just didn't feel. And so then I did the exact opposite of what an entrepreneur does. I actually went and worked in corporate America. I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll find my piece there. And what I found is I worked for great companies, and I worked for companies in the entertainment industry. And the challenge with those was that I was good at what I did, and I realized that there was so much incompetence kind of bred into the corporate mindset. That a guy who's entrepreneurial gets bored in that pretty easily, right? And when you see people who are promoted above you that don't have the skill set that you have, people who take credit for the work that you do, all those kinds of things as an employee, at some point you're either just resigned to it, like I guess that's just the way it's going to be, or you jet out. And so I think what's happening now is, honestly, as I've spent a lot of time talking about this as well, with the pandemic offered as an opportunity, and I don't mean to belittle the extent of the impact that's had around the world, but as an opportunity, what it's created is freedom. And I think that before, corporate America was really anti-work from home because they felt they couldn't control the activity. And that's what happens in a corporate setting. They want to control the activity. Do what I say that we're going to do. Oh, you're going to be a standout. Okay, good. Well, we're going to put you where you can actually accomplish the goals that we set for you. Do what I say you do it. And if you're going to work from home, well, I can't control you then. And then the pandemic forced everybody to work from home, and they found that people were really incredibly productive. And now all of a sudden, freedom of schedule changed things. And I think that the big resignation, the great resignation and the big reset here that's happening is because there's also freedom of choice and freedom of, and realizing the important things. You can't avoid the potential. You can't avoid potentially getting sick with something, who knows, but you're not going to avoid death either. And I think that the thing that the heavy fog over the pandemic was the finality of life, and really that you only live once. We're only here for a short period of time. Make it count, right? Do what you want to do. And if you're going to work in a corporation where you can't control your salary, or they don't pay you, they pay the position, right? They pay the position a rate. They're not paying your value. So many people in corporate America feel undervalued. Not anymore. Now there's so many opportunities. The world has opened up to this concept of individuals who can be incredibly productive working from home or working in their own business. There's a whole new industry that's opened up in delivering whatever it is, as simple as delivering food to, delivering your clothes. There's a whole thing where now I can sit. By the way, I can live anywhere that I want to live and be productive and have things come to me, as opposed to the city centers that we're used to, where we have to go into the city in order to do our shopping and our grocery shopping and go somewhere else. The pandemic's created this opportunity for it all to come. And it was a confluence of things, all come to serve me while I'm doing the best thing that I can to create a business, make money on my hours. And if I want to be truly global, there's no such thing as 9 to 5.
That's right.
There's no 9 to 5. So
there never was.
It was all a man-made construct, right? So now you have freedom of schedule, you have freedom of choice, you have freedom of multiple revenue streams. You can choose what you want to do. You've got access to information. You want to study cryptocurrency, you can study cryptocurrency and learn how to trade cryptocurrency in the middle of the night, when everybody else is sleeping. Whatever lights you up and whatever charges you up in the short period of time that we're on this planet, that's what people are doing. And millennials are watching their parents who are going, oh God, whether or not I'm going to go back to work in an office environment or not. Millennials are like, 71% of millennials have quit their jobs since April, by the way, of this year. 71%.
They're like, I'm out of here. Why would
Why do I have to do that? Where you're not gonna, why do I have to, you don't even, here's the other thing. And I think the thing that happens is we put so much faith in the executives and the people in charge as if they know what they're doing. And we treat them like godlike, like they have the answers. Yeah. And the other thing that the pandemic exposed is they don't have the answers and they don't know what to do. And when they don't know what to do, it creates a little bit of a rock in the foundation of someone's shift. You don't know what to do. I'm going to go find my own path and I'm going to do the thing that I'm charged up about. And so I think it's created tremendous opportunity for entrepreneurs to step up and step out and, deal with a bit of the discomfort, because it's not like, in a job, they hand you your pencil and give you your computer and they give you your desk and they tell you where to sit. They also tell you when you take lunch and when to come in and when to go home and what holidays you get and all that stuff. But people think that the consistency of having a 9-to-5 job or a corporate job or someplace that's going to lead to a regular steady paycheck, like they like that comfort. The reality is, again, the pandemic showed that's not guaranteed anymore by anybody. No. So if that's not going to be there, then you have to be comfortable in the discomfort a bit. Because if I worked in a job or if I worked for somebody else right now, I'd be uncomfortable. I don't know what the future looks like, working for somebody else. And why would I put my future in somebody else's hands when I can put it in my own hands and actually have some control? Right. And there's the offset to that. There's the good and the bad with that. But, as we're talking about entrepreneurs, the reality is you can do anything. You really can do anything. And I think the best part about what's happened in our pandemic world and in this digital space is people are making money doing stuff that you would have never thought was a viable business. And the reality is, if you have a need, chances are that somebody else has the same need. So if you can create a solution that fulfills that need, there's an opportunity for business to happen, for you to get paid, and for you to make a good living doing it. And that was a lot to say,
No, but that's kind of like the answer to the question that I was going to ask you, because I became an entrepreneur because I wanted freedom. I look back 14 years ago, and why did I step into this space is because I wanted freedom of time, freedom of choice. I wanted freedom, opportunity. I didn't want anybody's thumb on me. I didn't want anybody dictating where I could live, where I could go, any of that. And so I've developed that over the years, and I didn't understand where it came from. But if you have that entrepreneurial spirit, you have to go after it. And at a time like this, it's almost like the world has opened up to give us the permission to be able to make that happen and go find what it is exactly that we want to do that makes our hearts sing. So my question for you is kind of like, how do people as newly budding entrepreneurs, how do they go out and find their niche market? How do they go find what makes them happy, how they can be of service, and what they can do to create something that is essentially designs the life that they want?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say that there's a couple of things, right? There's a couple of answers to that question.
He's like, how long do we have? I said, I don't know.
This is going to be fun.
15 minutes, 20 minutes.
So for the next 6 hours, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship. So there's really kind of two answers to that question. One is, I've always wanted to explore X, right? That's one path that people can take. I was always interested in horses, and so maybe there's something I can find that's related to horses, right? And so I've always been interested in this. It was something, that I grew up with, or that it was comfortable for me when I was a child, whatever. And I've always wanted to explore that. So that's one direction, is pursue those things that you just love, that's just light you up, right? The other is, I've heard about this. I have no idea what it is. Let me go and explore it, and let me go do some research. This might be an area that I might want to go into, right? So it's one of those. It's one of those paths. I've never heard of this, some people are money motivated, right? So another may be, oh, I hear you can make a lot of money doing that. Maybe that will be of interest. I will tell you, you were in the medical field. I cut my finger. I still have a scar right here that when I cut my finger, I saw it and passed out. Medicine's not in my blood or in my future, right? I just know, I look at it, it makes me queasy, not my thing, right? So you can also look at those things that you don't want to do, right? And eliminate those things that you're just not good at, or you have no interest in or no desire in, and eliminate that and start to create a list for yourselves of the things that A, light you up, and B, that you're interested in or you might be interested in for whatever reason. And I'll tell you this, I learned many, many years ago, my former brother-in-law was graduated from UC Berkeley, and Tom Peters was the keynote speaker. And I'll never forget this. Tom Peters wrote the book In Search of Excellence and From Good to Great. And wow, he wrote a lot of books on businesses and what make businesses great and what are some of the key things that make a good business a great business, you know, or that things that light you up. And like I said, In Search of Excellence, he was searching for excellent companies. And so what a phenomenal keynote speaker. And the speech was 45 minutes, but I remember one really key thing that he said during that keynote speech, which was, if you're going to spend time away from your family, you want to pursue the path in an area that lights you up, that when you wake up every morning, you're not going, God, I got to go to work. Like you get up and go, I get to go to work. I get to get paid to do this. Like, this is such an amazing thing. It's like, if you don't like people, don't go into management, you know? I mean, it's pretty simple. But, you know, if you look at it, you think, well, I like sports, right? So what does that mean? Well, you could go look at a sports apparel company like a Nike or an Adidas, right? Maybe you go into a sports team management or sports apparel business or a sport. You know, there's so many things around sports. Maybe you're really good at numbers, but you also like sports. So maybe you want to be in the accounting or finance department of a sports organization of some kind. Like, you don't have to figure out what the job is per se, right? If you want to pursue a path, like you don't have to figure out what it is, the task that you're going to do. Find the thing that you love and that lights you up, and then you'll find that where there's a need and something that can be filled, something that can be fulfilled, right? Because when you fill a need and it's an area that lights you up, you're gonna find fulfillment. That's just how it works, right? And you can see there are a lot of miserable people out there who just hate their job, because you say, hey, how's it going? Like, oh, same, you know, SHIT, different day, you know,
okay, you can cuss there. Nobody's gonna cut you off.
Oh, nobody, yeah, all right. Try to be, and I spelled it out like I've got children.
I know, right?
I don't know. It was silly. But you know what I'm saying? There are people like, oh yeah, you know, same thing, a different day. You know, sort of like that's a miserable way to go through life. Like what happens at the end of your life, right? What do you envision happening on your deathbed when you look back at your life and you kind of take stock of everything that you've done? The last thing I ever wanted to have as I think about that moment is to look back and go, God, man, I should have done this, or man, I missed the opportunity to do this one thing, or I didn't say this one thing. People who know me know that I pretty much say everything that's on my mind, because I never want to miss the opportunity to say the things that are important to me. I mean, I see the Toy Lolos on here and Mimi and people that, you know, people in your circle that I love dearly. They know that I love them because I tell them that, because, you know, I love you because I tell you that, because I don't want to be there at the end and go, man, I wish I would have said that, or I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have pursued that. And so entrepreneurship is the same thing. You want to find the thing that at the end of your day, when you put your head down to go to sleep at night, you're like, man, I love what I'm doing. This is such a great thing. Thank you, God, for giving me the opportunity to pursue the thing that lights me up every day. Because there are people that don't get that choice.
You're so right. And I've always thought, when I've asked myself that question, I've always thought to myself, I just want to be able to inspire people to reach their own level of greatness, and whatever that might be. And, you know, whatever space you're in, you know, I'm in the financial space, but I have always wanted to just make sure that people had the tools to be able to achieve whatever it is that they desired. And so that's why I created GGinspire all those years ago, and now really more focused on driving that. But it just has become something that is important to me. It has become a part of me, of looking back and saying, what legacy did I actually leave? Did I inspire people? Did they reach some level, a next level in some way, shape, or form, because I inspired them to be able to do it? I hope I can say that, you know?
Yeah. Well, I know you do, because I see it. I've watched GGinspire for such a long time. I love what you say. I love how you share yourself, and I love what you do. And if you're driven by the desire to inspire other people, or to help other people find inspiration, which is usually what it is, right? Sometimes we think that we can motivate, we can inspire. Really, it's helping people discover. Those are internal things, right? You find your own passion. You find the thing that motivates you. You find inspiration. People hear your story and they're inspired by it, right? As much as you say, love to inspire people, the reality is you live in your greatest life and doing the things that light you up, that's inspirational. People are looking at that and they're like, that's that line from When Harry Met Sally. I'll have what she's having. I want that.
Right.
How do I find that? And sometimes they'll go, Gil, tell me, like, what are you doing? Because maybe that's the thing for me. I don't know. I've been searching for my own entrepreneurial track. I don't know what it is, but I like that you're lit up. So what are you doing? Can I do that too? Let me figure out what you're doing and maybe I'll get that, or at least I'll find the thing that lights me up or inspires me.
Yeah.
That's like folks like,
Absolutely.
Right? Tony Robbins and in our own Ed Milet, and people who put themselves out there and they tell great stories with the hopes that somebody finds inspiration and finds a passion for something and gets motivated to do something. Because it's one thing to hear a great story, and it's another thing to be enrolled in such a way that you then take on action that has you go do something, which means motivation. You got to be motivated to go do it. Again, some people are motivated by external forces. They need money or a spouse that says,
an
go
island.
make some money.
An island sounds nice. I want an island.
Yes, totally. I love an island.
$7 million island. It sounds
Do it.
Awesome.
For sure.
You know what? And that's huge. But I want to ask you one more question.
Yeah.
And it's really about some of the challenges maybe that you've experienced being an entrepreneur. And I was laughing when you were talking about the execs, because you were one. Right?
Yeah.
You were one for a long time and you continue to be. So, what are some of the challenges that you've seen in the entrepreneurial space? And how do you feel, number one, like, how can they follow you, right? I want to make sure that you guys follow Brian and check out the podcast. Tell us a little bit about the podcast and what you're doing there. But what challenges have you had along the way? And then how have you kind of brought that to now?
Well, here's the thing I think for entrepreneurs, they have to understand. It is a different mindset, right? It's a different mindset from an employee perspective, right? Where you go and your job is handed to you. And so a lot of times when you're doing it, and again, we're talking about self-motivation and self-inspiration and, self-passion.
Self-drive.
Our society likes to rock the foundations of those things, right? In general, other people don't like it when they see people succeed to some degree, right? And so a lot of times you're faced with sort of external noise that then has you start to question your decision, right? It's the craziest thing when someone says, yeah, I'm going to start a business and this is what I'm going to go do. And somebody says, oh, really? Well, how much money can you make at that? Like, I've never, could you imagine someone saying, hey, yeah, I just got a job as a VP of sports communications. I'm like, oh, really? How much do they pay you? Like, that's
totally
insane, right? And so you're like, how much? Like, that's the craziest thing, right? Or he's like, imagine, if you start your own business and someone says, well, come back to me when you're making money. I'm like, dude, when I'm making money, I'm not going to have time to come back to you because I'm going to be inundated with customers, right? It's sort of like when you get your real estate license, right? And people are like, okay, well, when you know what you're doing, come back. And also like that's just kind of so people get, there's also what comes with self-passion and self-motivation and self-inspiration is also self-doubt. And so the biggest challenges I think that most entrepreneurs have is the fight that exists, right here between self-doubt and self-motivation. And I think that if you constantly incorporate into your life sources and resources that can keep you grounded and focused on the future, the self-doubt conversation kind of goes away. And then anytime somebody from the external source says anything about what it is that you're doing, you can ask them, when was the last time that they made $1 million a year or whatever. Like there's tons of ways that you can handle that sort of
put the smackdown on them.
Yeah, because it's sort of, there's so many examples of that, but I'll just tell you that the biggest challenge I think that most people have is self-doubt, and it's like you have the reason where self-doubt comes in is you have a picture of what something is supposed to look like, and then something occurs and it doesn't match that picture exactly. If the picture doesn't match, then we're like, oh, was I wrong, or am I wrong now, or did I not see something coming? And then we start questioning what got us to put that picture up in the first place. So,
right.
The challenge I think that most people have is they go, I missed my mark. And then somebody said, hey, you missed your mark. Maybe this isn't your thing for you, or maybe you don't know what you're doing, or maybe you should get some help, or like they start putting that stuff in your brain. I promise self-doubt is probably the biggest challenge that most entrepreneurs have. And the reality is it's like I'm never going to go outside because I don't want a piano to possibly fall on me, or I don't want to go outside because, maybe there's going to be a car accident and I'm going to get hit walking across the street. Like, the possibilities of the stuff that creeps up in your mind is so really infinitesimal relative to everything else that, that shouldn't be the thing that has the biggest impact. Your dreams and your goals and your vision for what you thought when you started to launch it is what should be the driving force that continues moving you forward. No business is perfect. The reality is no business is perfect. Once you get that no business is perfect, you're right on track, right? Because you're not perfect. Like, no, Kentucky, like, it's all these examples, right? Colonel Sanders, right, was 60 something years old when he finally hit it, right? Jeff Bezos didn't make any money for 8 years, and Amazon was a public company. They were in the negative for it. Like, so many examples, you guys, of folks that have failed in earlier attempts, but the failure is where you learn, and it makes nothing makes success feel better than more success. And
Absolutely.
Looking at all those people who told you maybe you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Are you sure this is the right thing for you? Having success is such a great reward, even if the success is small, because if you can make any money in a business that you start on your own, anything, that's a success, right? If your vision is I want to make millions and millions and millions of dollars, and you just made $100, right? You've got a little ways to go. But making $100 in your own business, it's still an achievement. And so if you can do it for the $100, you could do it for $1 million, right? There's this, it can be done. It can be done. Keep self-doubt out of the conversation, and have your visions be self-driving. That's kind of the point of all that. For me in the business that I do, I'm driven by a lot of things. First of all, I'm at the age where my children are now, older, and they're kind of leading their own lives. And I look back at the legacy that I want to leave. I love talking to people. I'm a huge fan of speaking in front of a room and educating people. One of the things that drives me is I want to help people discover stuff that they've never had exposure to before, and give them the opportunity to get that. That's one of the things I love. And then on a more personal basis, one of my business partners, Sean Francis, and I do a podcast every Wednesday that services the special needs community. And our podcast is really highlight the amazing warriors, entrepreneurs, most of them entrepreneurs, who decided to take their situation, whether it was because they had a child with a disability, or a parent, or they just saw a need to service the special needs community, and they devoted themselves to creating a business that could service an opportunity. And the fact that it serves the special needs community, that to me is something significant. It's one thing to be, my oldest daughter had learning disabilities and was, in special ed for her whole educational career. It's one thing to be a parent that's a member of the special needs community by association, because my child brought me into that community.
Yeah.
It's another thing for somebody who's not from that community to willingly move into that community and service the special needs community. And that's what our podcast is all about. It's called Just Two Dads. And we're on Facebook Live, and, we have our own YouTube channel. We are Just Two Dads, because we were just two dads of special needs kids. And we wanted to have a conversation and talk about people who service the special needs community. And it has in turn opened up the opportunity for us to meet a whole bunch of phenomenal people. And it's impacted our businesses in such a positive, significant way that we're servicing the special needs community on so many different fronts, one with our actual business and one with our podcast, and they're aligned. So I'm crusade driven. And I think for me, that's one of those things that make entrepreneurship so great, is you can be crusade driven. If I wanted to do something in the special needs community and I was working in a corporation, working for somebody else, I wouldn't have time to do it. I wouldn't have time to build it, to create it, to service it, because I'd have to work for somebody else. Exactly. So it's tough to be crusade driven working for somebody else. As an entrepreneur, it's part of my personal mission. So thank you for getting me a chance to sort of plug, Just Two Dads. And some of the conversations we've had lately have been so amazing, right to the heart. It's beautiful. So
that's awesome. I love that you guys have really gone into this space to do what you intended to do, and now it's coming to fruition. It's a beautiful thing to see, and I know that you've helped so many people. I've sent a ton of people to your podcast, and really I come across a lot of people who benefit tremendously by listening to what you guys have to say and the experts that you have on. I know you just did a summit recently, so I'm really proud of you and Sean, and
you.
I know you both well, but I'm excited for you all.
Thank you.
I think it's going to be it's going to launch as far as it possibly can. So I look at us. We did a half an hour like standing on our head. I can't even believe it. Like nothing. But this is all. This is a great, like, just so much information that you were able to give us, but also, just hearing your story is really important. It is to inspire other people. It is to let them know that they're not alone, and some of the ideas that they're feeling, like needing the motivation or looking for something new or the self-doubt or, any of those things are a normal part of the process. As an entrepreneur, you're going to have the ups and downs, but just know that there is really strength in numbers of having other people around you and hearing some of their stories to go, okay, this is normal. Because for me, there's been some down days as an entrepreneur, and sometimes it's just listening to something, hearing something that gets me to the next day. And I keep putting my one foot in front of the other and getting to the next point. So yeah, that's all we have today, you guys. But look, to everyone who said that entrepreneurship is a bad idea, there's a lot of things I want to say to you, but I appreciate you motivating me for all of these years, motivating so many of us, because I know Brian said it. People are like, how much money are you making? What's going on? I got it's such a shame. You went to USC and you're not even going to use your degree. Like, no, because I want to be happy. So anyhow, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in today. Brian, you're awesome. I'm so excited that we are able to share this time together and be inspired, everybody, for a great life. Take care.
Absolutely.